Oh, California, almost as fascinating as North Korea. It wasn't all that long ago that the nation watched transfixed in horror as fires tore apart California, destroying homes and claiming lives, and all the BS debates about global warming and forest management. One single cause of the fire was left unaddressed. Let's make it clear, global warming wasn't responsible for any of these fires. People were. Here's an example. Last December, the 422-acre fire that forced the evacuation of 700 homes and took 10 days to put out was started by illegally cooking in a homeless encampment. The Leobec Temple in Bel Air, which celebrates social justice, even sued Los Angeles, both city and county, over fire damage for ignoring multiple complaints about the homeless encampment and the fire hazard that it posed. This November, the Los Angeles Zoo had to evacuate its animals over a fire in yet another homeless encampment. This fire not only endangered lives, but diverted resources from fighting the much more serious fires in Ventura County. But instead of shutting down these encampments, these dangerous encampments, mind you, Mayor Garcetti, who has done more to legalize and subsidize homelessness in Los Angeles than any of his predecessors ever did, sent outreach workers from the expanding behemoth of the LA Homeless Services Agency to ask them to please move. And of course, that went over about as well as the proverbial turd in a punch bowl on prom night. Orange County Supervisor Todd Spitzer blasted Garcetti for condoning campfires and refusing to arrest homeless vagrants. And get this, he refused to arrest them because there weren't enough no trespassing signs to justify it. I'm quoting Spitzer here. It's unclear to me how many signs Mayor Eric Garcetti thinks he would need to cover the Santa Monica Mountains behind Bel Air and the Getty Museum. Brush fires are just one of the wages of the legalization and subsidization of the homelessness. And while these fires are spectacular, they are not the most dangerous consequence. Los Angeles had doubled its homeless budget to $450 million. Despite that, its homeless population had only dropped to 39,826, a reduction of only 256 people. Really, the only surprise in those statistics is that the population dropped at all. As always, common sense rules the day. Homeless spending has the notorious effect of increasing homeless populations rather than diminishing them, as vagrants swarm in and agencies inflate their numbers. But while doubling its homeless budget didn't significantly diminish the homeless population in Los Angeles, it did have another amazing statistical effect on the well-being of city residents. LAPD statistics showed that homeless crime actually increased by nearly 50%, jumping from 5,976 crime reports of homeless perpetrators in most of 2017 to 8,906 crime reports in most of 2018. So basically, Los Angeles had doubled its homeless budget and doubled the amount of homeless crime. Homeless advocates like to claim that the police wrongfully arrest the homeless for quality of life offenses and that other people get a pass on. If ordinary people aren't arrested for public urination or campfires, why should the homeless? Brilliant question. That's that California education system kicking in. I digress. But of course, that argument fueled the legalization of homelessness, which allowed vagrants to urinate and defecate in public, which of course then resulted in businesses fleeing the affected areas. Oh yes, and then there were the hepatitis outbreaks among homeless populations in Los Angeles and other major California cities, not to mention that it also allowed them to start fires. Folks, I wish I was making this up. There will be links to this article in the description box, and if you are from California and are watching this, please leave us a brief synopsis of what you're going through there. Several epidemics and fires later, not to mention an outbreak of shoplifting and tents being set up in residential areas and outside small businesses, the full scale of homeless legalization looks even worse. Now, it's not just the quality of life offenses or broken windows policing, which accomplished rather effectively bringing back America's cities in the 90s, but which the pro-crime progressives have been moronically reversing. LAPD statistics show that while the homeless were suspects in 4.3% of all crime in Los Angeles, they were the suspects in 12.6% of aggravated assaults. The footprint of homeless crime was 3 times as high when it came to aggravated assaults, compared to the whole general geography of crime. Their state motto should be, "What the hell were we thinking?" And in my humble opinion, I think Trump should make that mandatory before we give them another federal dime. Despite the echo chamber of public officials and media talking heads claiming that the homeless are just ordinary folks who are down on their luck, the most visible homeless population is the one that stays outside the shelter system, that aggressively camp in public areas and that are obviously mentally ill. Don't believe me? Well, just drive around Los Angeles for a few hours, and you will quickly encounter third world-like street scenes. Situations like raging men and women stomping down deserted streets, threatening, cursing, and violently gesticulating in the air. I'm talking legions of schizophrenics hanging out in even the most expensive areas, having angry debates with nobody, unseen antagonists, I guess. And sometimes they take breaks from fighting these, let's call them ghosts, to punch passerbys. Talk to enough people, and the anecdotal stories of being threatened, punched, or otherwise assaulted by homeless, they pile up pretty quick. Now, obviously, most of these assaults aren't serious and aren't reported to police, but they have frightened residents and made them more willing to shovel money into a homeless service system that only encourages and enables the very problem they're hoping to end. The real story of the homeless crisis is not about economics. It's about mental illness. And the way it is played out is another demonstration of how leftist activism can manage to wreak havoc on a city, a state, or even a country on behalf of an incrementally tiny and dysfunctional population. LAPD statistics showed 8,906 crimes reported among a homeless population, which has been measured at 39,826 people. The crime rate per population in Los Angeles is a little over 3%. Now, among the homeless, it's at 22%. Out of 4 million people, 39,826 homeless are responsible for 12.6%, or 1/8 of aggravated assaults. So I guess, listen up, liberals. Less than 1% of the population commit 1/8 of the aggravated assaults in a city of 4 million. Meanwhile, 4.5% of the budget meant to serve those 4 million is going to 1% of the population. So yes, as it turns out, there is a 1% that is responsible for many of the problems. It's just the other 1%. It's not the people who work harder, who achieve more, and who produce more that are the problem, nor is it the people who have fallen on hard times but are still looking to get back on their feet. It's the people who are wrecking everything. The greatest lie the left has ever told is that they seek to help the less fortunate. They don't. They are accidentally helping. That's called collateral assistance. Instead, they elevate the most disruptive elements, economically, politically, socially, and culturally, in order to wreck cities, states, and countries. Leftist activism insists that everything stop to help that 1%, which can't stop dealing drugs, complaining about microaggressions, or urinating in doorways for that matter. It then inflates their numbers, their suffering, and their significance to prop up a narrative of an uncaring society that must be taken over and reformed by the left. But see, the opposite is true. It's not that we care too little, we care too much. The left took over by playing on that empathy. Much like being a parent, our empathy often overpowers our common sense. We do what feels good rather than what is good. But honestly, our good deeds don't turn into good outcomes. We legalize homelessness, and hepatitis outbreaks follow among the very people we tried to help. The more money we spend on homeless, the more homeless there are. And then violence, crime, and brush fires break out because we listen to the left. The left wants us to enable criminals and the mentally ill. But obviously, when we do that, it not only harms us, but it harms them. Mental illness and crime are not social problems. They are individual problems. They only become social problems to the extent that we lose the ability to meaningfully address them. And of course, that not only means that we can't help ourselves, it also means that we cannot help them. California's homeless crisis is a tragic demonstration of a society losing its values and its sense. You see, the hepatitis outbreaks, violent assaults, and brush fires are just symptoms. What happens when the 99% allow the 1% and its progressive protectors to get away with anything in the name of social justice? One of my most viewed videos got taken down last month on a BS copyright strike over a picture I picked up off a Google search. In the comments section of that video, I probably had well over 200 comments from frustrated liberals complaining that I gave no solution to their homeless issues in San Francisco. To answer that same question now and save us both the time, if I was in the situation that basically every major city in California is in as far as homeless and drugs, I would strongly suggest doing the opposite of what you are doing currently. In the words of Donald Trump, what the hell do you have to lose? Alrighty folks, I got a little animated with that one, didn't I? Well, I hope you still liked it, and if you did, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, leave a comment down below. There's a PayPal link in the description box, so please put $1 in the bucket on the way out the door, and until next time.
No. Come on, move. Move. Easy, easy.